Hello everyone, welcome back. I hope you're all having a wonderful Sunday. I was asked a question yesterday on, I think it was X, of what I thought was the best Shakespeare play. And my immediate answer was I'd have to think about it. And I've had a bit of time to mull it over. It's quite a difficult question, as you can imagine. His plays are compartmentalized into different types that are written for different reasons. But one thing that I thought about, and please bear with me with this. This is a very improvised rant, essentially. But I'm going to and ah my way through it, and hopefully we'll get to something of substance. But it occurs to me that his relationship is quite similar to a modern day screenwriter in Hollywood. And what I mean by that is he's writing all these historical plays. He has to do this to justify his patronage. He has to write about the crown. He has to write about these historical battles. It's a ticked box from the outside looking in. And the reason why it's similar is he's doing one for himself, then one for them, one for himself, then one for them. He's doing what is expected of him. And then you see the plays where he's really writing for himself, and he tends to go in three different directions when he is sort of indulging in what he actually wants to do. He'll either run headlong into fantasy and fairy tales and pixies and goblins. He'll write a Tempest or write a Midsummer Night's Dream, and it's meant to be light. It's meant to be a bit of fun. Put some gags in there, or he'll write something to shock people. We even see this now when a writer might be having a bit of a lull. They'll write something purely for shock value. He wants to get people talking in the taverns. Oh my God, have you seen what he's done now? And it gets people in the seats. And he'll write Coriolanus. He'll write Titus Andronicus, where horrific things happen. But the third way he goes is quite interesting. He'll go to romance, and I have picked a play which I do think is his best by way of this thought process. Romeo and Juliet, I think, is his best play, because I'm of the belief that a lot of the knowledge that exists in his plays, a lot of the descriptions of battles and foreign lands and knowledge of law, I'm under the impression that he's assembled this from various sources. He accumulates a lot of knowledge to put into his plays. But with something like Romeo and Juliet, you can't fake that. You can't write deep, lengthy iambic pentameter from someone telling you about their relationship that went wrong in the pub. You've got to have lived it yourself. And Shakespeare, you can tell it in the writing. He puts so much into Romeo and Juliet. This is a man who has loved and loved deeply and lost and feels it. And it touches on something that's quite interesting, that there seems to be two different times in our life where we go through stages that are just a fog. And when we look back on it in adulthood, we can barely remember a thing. The first is childhood. It's a swirling mess, a childhood is. You can't really, even when you look back on it as an adult, it's like looking through a a fogged stain of glass or something. It's a complete mess. You can't remember specific things. And the same thing goes for very young teenage relationships where you are loving with everything you've got. You have no parameters on what your love should be, so you just give everything you've got. And these type of relationships, because they are so brutal and fiery, are ultimately doomed to fail. And just as Lewis Carroll took the time to really dig down deep into the nuances of how a child feels, especially when they're confronted with an adult, and how terrifying and imposing they look, Shakespeare's done the same with the foggy veneer that is a young relationship. He's managed to, it's almost as if he's been in a very young relationship, and while he's gone through it, made notes of the nuances, because it's utterly captured in a Romeo and Juliet. I think it is his best play. I think it is a true reflection of him. And as I said, you can't fake it. You can't fake writing about love. And it plays to his biggest strength. As I just said, he's assembling a lot of what is in his plays. If he needs to know about a certain battle, if he needs to know something to do with law, he'll seek it out, as many writers do. But with Romeo and Juliet, I don't think he's had to go anywhere. I don't think he's had to sort out anything other than he knows this stuff. You know, it plays to his biggest strength, which is, and this goes to something else that I've always believed, Shakespeare isn't really a playwright. Not really. He's gone towards plays because it's where the action is at that time. It's where the money is. But you'll notice that he doesn't write plays like a playwright. Most playwrights, they're very conscious of budget and time, and they'll set it on maybe one or two stages, scenes. But Shakespeare, he's putting tropical islands, he's putting storms and shipwrecks. He writes them almost as if he's writing a feature film. He doesn't write them like a playwright would. He writes them like a poet is writing a poem. And this is what I think is ultimately the case, that Shakespeare, when you boil him down, is a poet first and foremost. And Romeo and Juliet plays to his biggest strength, which is love sonnets. He is extremely good at writing deep, in-depth, iambic pentameter love poetry. And it completely plays to his strength. So that's my answer to that question. Thank you to the person that asked it. I get asked a few questions on X. Maybe I should start answering a few of them, perhaps in some sort of Q&A. But I'm open to having my opinion changed. If anyone else wants to make a case for Hamlet, Macbeth, they definitely have their strong points. But where I'm coming from is who's the real William? You know, which play really? Forget all of the I have to write for the crown, I'm trying to shock people, let's make half the cast die before the end of the play. What's the story that is unequivocally him, that dives down deep into the little ball of talent that he has, He's very talented in a lot of different aspects, but in terms of literature, poetry is his biggest strength. So Romeo and Juliet, that's my pick for his best play. I'll see you in the next video.